The global trade landscape is fraught with complexity. Vietnam, a nation heavily reliant on exports, finds itself walking a tightrope between two economic giants, the United States and China. On April 15, 2025, Vietnam's Trade Ministry made a bold move. It issued a directive aimed at curbing illegal transshipment of goods. This directive, while seemingly targeted at ensuring fair trade practices, carries significant geopolitical weight. It highlights Vietnam's delicate balancing act as it strives to maintain strong economic ties with both the U.S., its largest export market, and China, its largest import source. This directive comes in the wake of escalating trade tensions between the U.S. and China. The U.S., under the Trump administration, imposed a 46% tariff on goods from China. These tariffs, though currently paused, loom large over Vietnam's economy. The reason? The U.S. has accused China of using Vietnam as a backdoor to circumvent these tariffs. Chinese goods, instead of entering the U.S. directly, are routed through Vietnam. They are then relabeled as made in Vietnam to avoid the hefty U.S. tariffs. This practice, known as transshipment, threatens to undermine U.S. trade policies and harm American businesses. Vietnam's economy is deeply integrated with both the U.S. and China. The U.S. is Vietnam's largest export market. It imports a wide range of goods from Vietnam, including electronics, textiles, and footwear. China, on the other hand, is Vietnam's largest import source. Raw materials, machinery, and components from China are crucial inputs for Vietnam's manufacturing sector. This interconnectedness creates a complex web of dependencies for Vietnam. Vietnam's directive to combat transshipment is an attempt to navigate this complex geopolitical terrain. By cracking down on illegal trade practices, Vietnam aims to appease the U.S. and avoid potential sanctions. At the same time, Vietnam must tread carefully to avoid alienating China, a powerful neighbor and crucial economic partner. Vietnam's directive outlines a series of concrete measures to address the issue of transshipment. These measures reflect a serious commitment to tackling the problem and demonstrate Vietnam's willingness to cooperate with the U.S. on trade issues. The directive calls for increased scrutiny of imported goods, particularly raw materials used in exports. This heightened vigilance aims to ensure that goods labeled as made in Vietnam are indeed of Vietnamese origin. Furthermore, the directive mandates stricter factory inspections. This measure will help ensure that manufacturing processes within Vietnam meet the required standards, and that goods are not simply being relabeled from other countries. The government is also tightening control over the issuance of Made in Vietnam certificates of origin. This step is crucial in preventing the fraudulent use of these certificates, which are essential for goods to qualify for preferential tariff rates. The directive specifically targets companies that show a sudden surge in applications for certificates of origin. This targeted approach suggests that the Vietnamese government is aware of the tactics used to circumvent tariffs and is taking steps to preempt them. The directive also tasks government officials with proposing further preventative measures against illegal transshipment. This proactive approach highlights Vietnam's commitment to staying ahead of the curve and adapting its policies to combat evolving trade malpractices. The timing of Vietnam's directive is significant. It came shortly after Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Vietnam. During this visit, the two countries signed several agreements, including one on cooperation regarding certificates of origin. While this agreement seems to promote transparency and cooperation, it also underscores the delicate balance Vietnam must maintain. China has warned other nations against entering into trade deals with the U.S. that could negatively impact China's interests. This warning places Vietnam in a precarious position, caught between its desire to strengthen ties with the U.S. and its need to maintain good relations with China. Vietnam's directive, in this context, can be seen as an attempt to placate both sides. By addressing the issue of transshipment, Vietnam demonstrates its commitment to fair trade practices, a key concern for the U.S. However, by emphasizing cooperation with China on certificates of origin, Vietnam signals its willingness to work within the framework of its existing economic relationship with China. The directive also follows an emergency Vietnamese government meeting held shortly after President Trump's announcement of tariffs in early April 2025. This meeting highlights the seriousness with which Vietnam views the potential economic fallout from the U.S.-China trade war. Vietnam, as a highly trade-dependent nation, is particularly vulnerable to disruptions in global trade flows. High-level involvement in addressing this issue underscores its importance for Vietnam. Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh has directed officials to prioritize the fight against trade fraud, counterfeiting, and other U.S. concerns. This directive reflects Vietnam's understanding that maintaining good trade relations with the U.S. is crucial for its economic well-being. Vietnam's economic future hinges on its ability to navigate the complexities of global trade. The country has emerged as a manufacturing powerhouse, attracting significant foreign investment and experiencing rapid economic growth. However, its reliance on exports, particularly to the US and China, makes it vulnerable to geopolitical tensions. The directive to combat transshipment is a testament to Vietnam's proactive approach to safeguarding its economic interests. By taking concrete steps to address US concerns about trade practices, Vietnam aims to secure its position as a reliable trading partner. This move is crucial for attracting continued foreign investment and maintaining access to the US market. However, Vietnam's balancing act is far from over. The country must find ways to maintain its strong economic ties with China, while simultaneously allaying US concerns about unfair trade practices. The success of Vietnam's strategy will depend on several factors. These include the effectiveness of its enforcement mechanisms, the evolution of US-China trade relations, and the willingness of both the US and China to accommodate Vietnam's interests. Vietnam's ability to navigate these choppy waters will determine its economic trajectory in the years to come.